here we are with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Of course, we got the book here and the case I've been using as it contains all 8 films. So, these next two are probably the most different of the Harry Potter films because, in an essence, each Harry Potter film, there's a beginning, Harry's with the Dursleys, or he's somewhere, it's not Hogwarts yet, but Hogwarts is approaching. Then whatever intro occurs, and then he goes to Hogwarts, reconnects with his friends, or meets them for the first time. And then some stuff happens, Christmas happens, and then the big lead up to the finale of the film occurs, and then finally you have the big finale, whether it be a battle or whether it be a big twist or a plot change or whatever have you, and then Hogwarts, the school year ends, and that's usually, in a sense, the formula for the first 6 films. However, this one, especially this one in particular, Hogwarts, unless it's in like a flashback or something, is not in the film at all. In fact, it's about 45 minutes. I don't know if that was about 45 minutes into the film, where you get a brief glimpse of the Hogwarts Express, and usually the Hogwarts Express or Hogwarts itself is seen within the first 20 to 30 minutes. So, but then again, the last 2 films are this book split into 2. I mean, there's, yeah, so, but the big difference is Hogwarts is not part of this film, thus it kind of changes the formula up a bit. And when I first saw this, I always thought this was the most boring, but as watching it, later on, it's become, I guess, maybe my second or third favorite, just because it's different. It changes it up a bit. And a bit of me wishes that after Hogwarts, after the 8th film, somewhat spoiler, but I'm assuming people know how it would end for the most part. But there's always that bit of me that wishes if they would have continued on with the films or the book series, that we get more of Harry in his later life going on adventures as an Auror, catching the bad guys, breaking the formula of Hogwarts, making it an adventure. And that's what I like most about this film. It's an adventure, it's a mystery. You've got let's get into kind of the plot. The plot is, by the time it starts, Dumbledore's dead, Harry's kind of dealing with it, the Dursleys have taken off, all of his a group of people come in, try to transport Harry. Of course, when they go to transport Harry, because he's not allowed to do magic yet, they have to use mechanisms in which magic is not included. But upon doing so, they evidently get caught, and, well, I guess they don't get caught, but they get flanked by Voldemort's team. So Voldemort's team goes after them, and it's just a bit of a mess. They get to the Burrow, and then from there you find out, or they kind of get a couple of presents from Dumbledore's will, and then the Ministry falls. The Minister is murdered, and Voldemort has basically taken over the Ministry of Magic, which is, as a reminder, a government for the wizarding people, the wizarding world. And now they are dealing, upon the attack, they start to go on the adventure for the Horcruxes, as mentioned in the previous. And like I said, that's what ties these 3 together and makes this kind of trilogy, with year 5 kind of being just a small lead into the atmosphere, what's to come. But the Horcruxes are prevalent, and now it's Harry Ron and Hermione going on for the search of the Horcruxes, as they're going to need them to defeat, or they have to destroy them to defeat Voldemort. And that's the premise. Of course, there are some moments where, like when Ron leaves, and it's just kind of a depressing point. You know, he says some stuff to Harry. Hermione is distraught. Harry is upset. Ron has taken off. And what does Harry do to lighten the mood? Because, I mean, at this point, I mean, you're thinking that had you not read the book and hadn't seen the movie before, and even after, or even watching the movie after the 6th or 7th time, you're sitting there like, man, it's dark, it's gruesome. How are these characters gonna make it? What's gonna save them? Because I mean, because in year 4, Ron is pissed off at Harry for him being in the Goblet of Fire. Of course, Hermione is completely against breaking rules. But at this point, what Harry does is kind of nice, and it's not in the book, it's only in the movie, and I was so glad that they kept it in the film. And or they put it in the film. And that's when Harry and Hermione are dancing. It just really lightens the mood. It recalibrates that she's not mad at Harry. Harry's not mad at her. They're both just kind of frustrated with Ron, and not just Ron, but the situation that Ron's been put into, and then now Ron has been taking it out on them, and and that's kind of where they're at. And so they dance. It's fun. It's a happy moment. They're smiling, of course, by the time the dance is over. It goes back to that gritty atmosphere, but it's nice. It lightens the mood. I can't think of the term for it, but I really liked it. And then there was something else that I thought was kind of funny. One thing that they took out of the book, from what I recall, because it's been years since I've read this, because I thought there was a point in which they are following Dean Thomas and I think Griphook, the Goblin, at the end of the film, and I'm at a loss for words. But what I was gonna say was, because in the book it kind of gave a sense of, well, there's other people out there. Not everybody went back to Hogwarts, even though in the book it stated that they're threatened if they don't go back to Hogwarts. So, but or families would be threatened if their kids didn't go to Hogwarts. And Dean Thomas, I believe, was one of the characters that doesn't go back to Hogwarts, and it kind of gives that sense of maybe, I don't know where I'm going with this, but maybe Harry, Ron, and Hermione are doing the right thing. Though, like I said, I can't really remember much about that. I'd have to read that section of the book. Actually, I'd have to read the whole book again. But of course, there's one other. I'm going to save that plot for a couple more minutes. But of course, one thing to discuss is the acting. Once again, Harry this is the oldest we will be see. Well, I guess not really, but this is the oldest of Harry that we see up to this point. And man, I mean, I know he's supposed to be 17, but I think Daniel Radcliffe was like 20 or something when he filmed this, and he looks to be 20 or 22 or however old he was. I mean, he looks a little older than 17 at this point, only in a few select scenes, especially when he's growing kind of a 5 o'clock shadow, a beardish. When he starts looking a little scruffy, I mean, he's got a bigger chest built in some of these scenes, especially when he's wearing sweaters. It makes him look, a little more buffed, beefed out. But I mean, aside from that, I mean, the acting is all on point. Of course, of Ron, I think, is rather whiny throughout the majority of the film. But Hermione, Emma Watson, she was I think she acted for the most part like a 17-year-old girl who's trying to be as mature as possible. And, Snape at the beginning is very sly. There's a mystery surrounding Dumbledore, which once again is more expressed in the books, where you don't quite know exactly what Dumbledore has been up to. His father had killed 3 Muggles. Dumbledore, I can't remember if it mentions in the film. It might mention in part 2, but Dumbledore abandons his sister because he's so obsessed with the Deathly Hallows and trying to find them. Which, once again, the Deathly Hallows are, as a quick reminder, are the most powerful one called the Elder One, in which Dumbledore actually had this whole time, and now at the end of the film, Voldemort's got it. So now Voldemort has the most powerful wand ever created. Then there's the Resurrection Stone, brings people back from the dead. And then finally there's the Cloak of Invisibility, which, spoiler alert, you can kind of piece it together, but Harry has that one from the first film. And then if anybody has all 3, they become the Masters of Death. But anyway, so Voldemort has the Elder Wand, and I can't remember. I can't really remember what I was going to say. Either way, shit's getting real. Shit's happening. Harry Potter is going to be in a world of hurt, and now we are leading into the 7th part 2, and of course you can't not mention Dobby's death, which happens right at the end of the film. Spoiler alert, but oh well. But Dobby, he's a character that is prevalent in the books a lot more. I think he's in the 2nd one, and then I think he's in all of them up to 7th. He might not be in the 6th one, so I know he's in 2, 4, and 5. I cannot remember if he was in the 6th one or not. And I know he's, of course, he's in this one. But I really wish they would have included Dobby a bit more. Of course, I think he looked a lot nicer in here than he did in the 2nd film. But that's just personal preference. But, his death was sad. For whatever reason, when I first saw this movie in theaters, I completely forgot about the death. And then as Bellatrix throws the knife upon Dobby apparating, then I remembered, and his death. It's rather sad because, like I said, if you read the books, you became a bit more attached to the character. But that's about it. Because he's in the 2nd one. He's towards the beginning of part. Doesn't matter which one I'm pointing to. Towards the beginning of part 1, and then you don't see him again until the end of part 1, and then he dies. So you don't really get to connect with the character as much in the films. That goes for any character, but his character kind of gets ripped out because there's a bit more of what he has to do with in the 4th and 5th books. Like I said, I can't remember if he was in the 6th one. I thought he was, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, it's a different film. There's mystery shrouding it upon the Deathly Hallows, upon Dumbledore. So that's what I like most. Of course, it definitely doesn't hold up on its own. You need, essentially, you need part 2 to go with part 1 because they slide together. They're connected. They're right after each other. There's really no breaks, but of course, no one wants to sit through a 4-hour film. Though I have the tendency to, whenever I watch Deathly Hallows Part 1, I almost immediately throw in Deathly Hallows Part 2. However, that's not the case this time around because I just don't have 4 or 5 hours of my time to just sit. But I will be getting into Part 2. Well, by the time you watch this, I've already watched all the films. So, of course, my memory is fresh enough with the films where I actually don't need to watch any of them to review them, but I figured I would just for the heck of it. But so these are my thoughts. I think it's a great book. I hope I added a little bit more to the discussion. Probably not really that much, but either way, some important stuff to talk about. I definitely recommend reading the books for all of them, of course, but I had a lot of fun with the 7th book. I remember the most fun with the 7th book, although my favorite is number 5. But yeah, it's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Of course, next week I'll be finishing this series up with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. So what are your guys' thoughts? Any commentary upon what I had to say or whatnot? Please let me know down below. I would definitely like to continue conversations there. If I didn't explain myself well enough, I could maybe expand my thoughts down there. So, until next time, guys, adios.